At the top of the screen to the right, you see that microphone?
It's not muted.
And it says a mute. And if you click it, it should be unmuted.
Not clicked. It's not on.
Oh, hey, I got you. Here we are. All righty, let's see here. Is this going to work for me on my lower third real quick? For some reason, it's reversing my lower third, so we're going to turn my lower third off. We're going to get going. All right, are we ready? Outstanding. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Fran Harris Show. I interview the world's most exciting, most interesting people. And my guest today is Heidi. Let's pronounce that last name because the last thing I need to do is not say your name right.
Heidi Sloss.
Heidi Sloss. Outstanding. So, Heidi, what makes you one of the most interesting people in the world, or what you do really interesting?
Well, gosh, that could take an hour. What makes me most interesting is I am incredibly curious. I love learning things. I love learning about the world. I love learning about people. I love getting to know them. And I think that makes me an interesting person. Now, as far as what I do is I work currently with business owners and independent sales agents, and I help them connect better with people, build stronger relationships, build better rapport, get to know people, understand the sales process and how that works so that they can follow up and then make more money, be happier, run faster, jump stronger. No, you know what I mean.
How did you get to this work? I mean, you know, we all come to it kind of interestingly, but how did you get to the things that you're doing now?
So, gosh, my life has been an uncharted journey. Opportunities have happened, and I have, I don't know, had enough guts to take them. Back in 1981, as I was graduating from college, my father had just started a business with a business partner, and he needed some help. And so, actually, it was 1980. It was before I graduated from college. And I started to work for him. A few years later, when we discovered that that business partner wasn't as kosher as we thought, we left that business partner and started our own company. And it has been off to the races since then. I love being able to see a problem and figure out a way to solve it and help people with that. And that has led me in a variety of industries. I've been in menswear manufacturing, I've been in women's retail, I've been in real estate, I've been in the nonprofit business, and along the way I've learned some wonderful things. And what I think of myself is like a pollinator, a cross-pollinator. I take from what I've learned from all of these industries and bring it now to business owners. And I don't know if you saw, but American Express just released a really interesting report on small businesses today, and it's made the newspapers, it's made the radio, it's made the TV, and what they're talking about is that there's been a huge growth in women-owned businesses in this country since 1997, and it's very, very exciting. And what I bring to that table is information to help women running these businesses, because the problem for these new businesses being run by women is that they don't necessarily have a great business background, and they don't understand the business fundamentals. And you don't need an MBA for this, but you need to understand how business works. And the problem is that there are more women running businesses, and they are employing more people, but they're not necessarily making more money. And that's where I come in. So you can be doing a whole lot, you can be really busy, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're effective.
Yeah, or productive for that matter. You know, it's like, I love it when people start saying, oh, I'm so busy. I'm like, but are you productive? Are you getting things done? Are you making any money?
Right,
so
exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the sales aspect of business, because that's an area, sales are always going to be really, really hot and interesting to people. What have you found through the work that you do where people, what is their attitude towards selling?
Well, it's funny. So I think of sales and marketing as part of one long chain. If you've done your marketing right, sales will come.
Yeah.
And marketing, I think, and sales intimidates a lot of people. I think that people think, oh my gosh, sales, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be pushy.
Right.
And what I have found, it's really quite interesting. The people who worry about being pushy rarely are pushy. It's the people who don't worry about it who need to. And so what I tell audiences, if you worry about being pushy, you are so far from pushy, you need to step up to the line, because people do not even realize that you're trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
And so I think that sales is made way more complicated than it needs to be. And I like to take people all the way back to how to define marketing. And I define marketing just as simple as the following. It's as building a relationship with a prospect or a great referral source until they feel comfortable enough to do business with you.
Yeah.
Period. So if you can make friends, if you have any friends, you can start marketing. And if you do that well, if you can build a good enough relationship until someone feels comfortable enough to do business with you, you got sales coming to happen.
But Heidi, isn't it that sometimes people, I sold for Procter & Gamble for almost 5 years, and I know that when I got hired as a sales rep, my whole thing was, ooh, I don't want them to say no to me. You know, what if they say no to me? It's like this huge indictment. So I would avoid going on the calls and didn't go to certain buyers because I was like, oh, he's just too difficult to deal with. What is it about the process, or us, because I'm a big proponent of looking in the mirror, that makes that process kind of intimidating to folks?
Well, I think that great salespeople do one thing really, really well, and they do great self-talk. They tell themselves what they need to hear. Yeah. And, you know, so here's the deal. If you're in sales, you're going to hear a lot of no's. And there are all sorts of great sales gurus out there, and they'll tell you all sorts of things. The only thing that I think that has become really worthwhile that I have heard in all of my years, and I have way too many years, as I dated myself and telling you when I graduated from college, is that the more no's you hear, the sooner you get to yes. And so if you accept that there will be no's in your life, because if you're in sales, you're going to hear no. You also have to know that they're going to be yeses. And I, years and years and years ago, when I was a volunteer for a nonprofit, they had something called a fuzzy folder. And I got sent one of these from a gal who was doing support for me. And it was literally a folder with a piece of carpet taped onto the edge. And she said, keep this fuzzy folder, and anytime someone sends you something nice, some sort of fan mail, some sort of nice letter, put it in the fuzzy folder. And so I think good salespeople remind themselves on a regular basis of what's in their fuzzy folder. You know, and I think that that's what you have to do. You have to remind yourself that there are people out there. If you've got a good product or a good service and you're not getting sales, then there's going to be one of two things. One is you're being too meek or mild, or you're not getting it out there. And the second thing is you're not getting it out to the right people. That is really, really critical. So I offer a program for a few select people, and it's called a marketing analysis plan, marketing analysis program, my MAP program. And it starts with, because everything comes from who is your target market. If you don't know who your target market is, you could be going out there, you have a great product, great service, you're able to tell people about it articulately, succinctly, in repeatable ways, yay, yay, yay. But if you're telling it to the wrong people, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, not going to get you anywhere. All right, so let's turn our attention a little bit to the target market that you serve and why you chose to serve those people. I mean, you know, one of the things that I love about marketing is that you can skinny down a whole lot. How do you decide, and how do you define the market that you should go after?
For in general, for people?
Yeah. Somebody's out there saying, you know, I got this great product, I got this wonderful widget. It's for everybody.
Right. And it may be, you know, let's be clear. It may be for everybody, but for the marketing purposes, you pick just one target market to start with. And once you got them going, and I'll circle back to your question in a minute. Once you got that target market going, then you can add new ones. But what I find is business people come to me and they've got a gajillion target markets, and so they're doing, it's not sticking anywhere. So I like to give people an option. They can pick a target market based on their own background. You can pick something that you do or some part of your own ethnic or cultural or religious background and start there. You can pick a lifestyle. You can pick people that you just like. Here's the thing, though. You have to pick one, and you have to become their expert, because people buy from people they perceive are as experts. So you have to get in the heads of your target market. I mean, you can pick purple people eaters. I don't care what you pick, but then you have to go out and do some research. Then you have to go out and really spend some time. And I'm giving a talk, a keynote presentation at an upcoming conference at the end of this month in Las Vegas. Woo, Vegas, baby! And it's for travel agents, people in the travel industry. And I will tell them the same thing I told them last year, that they have to do some research. They have to know who their target market is and what are their travel needs. You have to do some research. All large businesses spend gazillions of dollars on research. And small businesses just have to pay for a phone call or a cup of coffee. It's not that big a deal.
You mentioned the American Express study or research that just came out and how they're targeting women. In your experience, what's been, maybe 2 or 3 of the barriers that women entrepreneurs have a difficult time, or at least a more difficult time clearing in the marketplace?
Well, I think a big obstacle for women business owners is that they do exactly what you talked about at the beginning, and that was, they're afraid to hear no. And I like to tell people, when you hear the word no, lightning is not going to come down and strike you dead. The floor is not going to open up and you're going to sink through. You'll just hear no, put on your big girl pants and get on with it. I think the other side of that is I'm afraid to hear no, is I'm afraid to come off as being pushy. And I got to say to that, I've thought about this, I struggled with this, I'm a strong, assertive woman. What's wrong with coming off as being strong? You can be powerful, and powerful has a lot of impact, and you don't have that impact if you haven't made your business a success. I've got a lot of business owners coming to me, and they're giving away their time, they're giving away their money, and they're able to touch just a few people, but I like to tell them, hey, check out the news. Who is having the most impact? It's people whose businesses are very successful, and if you've been able to create a pot of gold, you can have that much more impact. So I think that there's these 2 big twin barriers. I'm afraid to be too pushy, I'm afraid to hear the word no. And then I think the third one with that is that women aren't really taught these skills to stand up for ourselves and say, yeah, I have something worthwhile, I am worthwhile, and I want to share it with you. And I think it's sort of why a lot of the self-help gurus do so well, because people are lacking in that.
What's been one of the biggest hurdles that you've had to clear? Because, of course, I interview the world's most interesting people, and sometimes people put us in positions and they think, oh, you've never had to struggle with anything. What's been one of the things that's been a challenge for you in your business?
So the biggest struggle that I have really danced around, and still am, and I'm thinking about this for my next book, is how to balance being a woman, being a successful business person, and being the mother that I want to be. And I want to be really clear. I have had great business success. However, I have not had the business success I could have and should have had because I have made conscious choices that my children come first. I mean, just think of Mama Bear when you think of me, because my kids need something, I'm taking care of it for them. And I do. And I've launched one successfully, and I'm about to launch the other one. I have a child who's 22, and he is a very successful entrepreneur. In fact, just last week, he sold his stock from his first company, and he's starting his second company. We're incredibly proud of him. And my daughter is a senior in high school and is going off to Syracuse University in the fall. Go Orange! And I'm really proud of them, but that has come at a cost to me professionally, and I have been clear about my choices and happy about them. So I think that that's a big barrier for me, and I've made those happily. So.
All right, last question. If there were going to be a movie made about your life, what genre would it be in? Who would play you, and what would be the name of it?
All right, so I've thought about this because I know you asked this question, Fran Harris, and I have thought about this as I've watched your past interviews. So here's the deal. Deborah Winger would have to play me.
Yes.
Okay? Now, people have said I look kind of like her. I think that was much more when I was younger. But I love that she is a direct, straight shooter. She comes across, you can read her emotions on her face. And if you look up her reviews, they all say that. And I think that I am like that, and I value that. I like to be direct. I don't like to play games. The subtle stuff does not work with me, and I don't want to have to try things on people like that.
Right.
So the title would be something about transformation. I feel like I've unfolded as I've gotten older, and that has been a wonderful journey and a wonderful way to be. And so, I mean, I've played with titles. My two kids are very loud, so I thought about It's a Mad, Mad World, or I thought about David Bowie's song Changes, Changes. I mean, there's a whole variety of things. And as far as genre, I know it would be an adventure, but I'd like it to be a musical because I love musicals. So there you go.
All right. Deborah Winger in a musical. I'm going to keep that in mind. All right, Heidi, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the Fran Harris Show. How can people connect with you online?
So at the bottom of the screen is my website, and that is www.heidisloss.com. And it's all phonetical. And if you Google Heidi Sloss, or Fortune is in the Follow-Up, which is my book.
Yeah.
Fortune is in the Follow-Up. You can Google that. You will find that. I come up #1 on that. Fortune is in the Follow-Up, and it is available at bookstores, at Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and through my website.
Outstanding. We'll talk to you soon, Heidi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, you're watching the Fran Harris Show. We're going to turn our attention now to our next guest, who is in the house already. You ready for me?
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, can you hear me?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Are we ready to rock and roll?
Well, I can't seem to, am I on screen? Because I can't see anything.
You are. I'm looking right at you. Can you see me?
Oh, okay. Is there some way that I can see it also?
Let's see here. There is a button at the top that shows, you see where it says, you see the microphone at the top?
Yes.
To the right, and then there's a camera next to it. So the only thing I can tell you is to hit that camera. Okay, you clicked it, and then that took you off.
Okay, so now I'm on.
You see yourself?
No, I don't. That's okay. That's all right.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to ask our former guest, Heidi Sloss, if you could mute your mic. That would be terrific, because we can hear you in the background. That'd be great. All right, everybody, we're ready to rock and roll with the Fran Harris Show. So my next guest, I always tell everybody when they come on the show, I interview the most interesting people in the world, hands down, and my next guest is certainly in that category. So I don't want to, my name is pretty easy. It's Fran Harris, pretty simple. You know what I mean? I hate mispronouncing people's names. So is it Deborah?
It's Deborah Dalfovo.
Outstanding. And what makes you one of the most interesting people in the world?
And I'm thinking of changing my name, seriously. Because people just don't get it, but it makes for a good conversation starter. What makes me one of the most interesting people in the world? Well, I've had a very interesting life, extremely interesting, very adventurous, to say the least, and I'm still on an adventure. But I just keep thinking of the Mary Tyler Moore theme song. You're going to make it after all, and it keeps me going.
What adventures are you working on right now, Deborah?
Well, right now I am, I'm an Italian chef and cooking instructor, so I cook for people. I try to bring pleasure into people's lives, to bring the good life, and by the good life, I mean the Italian good life, which is called La Bella Vita, and it's not, everybody knows La Dolce Vita, which is the sweet life, and that's kind of a more superficial and just material good life. I'm talking about the really quality, good life, meaning that even sitting in an open field with a beautiful apple and just enjoying nature, that to me it can be a wonderful bella vita. So right now I am doing that. I teach cooking classes all over the San Francisco Bay Area, and I cook for people as a private chef. At this time, I'm working on my cookbook. I've got a huge, I don't know if you can see this. These are all my recipes that I've written over the last 8 years or so doing my cooking classes, and I need to get this out. I had a little bit of a setback in the last 5 or 6 years. So I'm trying to overcome that, and I'm cooking up a storm. That's what I do best.
So Politaliano.
See. I lived in Italy for 20 years. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. And the interesting part about my life, I was an art student. I wanted to be a fashion designer. So I went to art school and I majored in advertising design in the end and became an art director in advertising. So, and I was really like a little hotshot. I was very creative, and I got a job in a really great advertising agency in Michigan. And I was like the little star and doing great campaigns for Whirlpool and for Trans Am, Pontiac Trans Am, and just really great things. But and this agency was really cushy. I mean, I had a great life for a young 20-something. I had a brand new, beautiful Trans Am. I had my own apartment. I had all the material things that I always dreamed of because I grew up from a very lower middle class family. So all that was great, except I wasn't happy. Yeah. And I was looking around me, seeing all these people that were there for 30 years and kind of like in the corners, put in corners. And I thought, oh my God, and it scared the hell out of me. And I said, I need to live a little bit. This is not, I mean, just having things is not enough. Yeah. So I decided to go to Europe. And that's where, I mean, I have an Italian background. I'm Italian. So I decided to go to Europe, and that was a big deal for a young, I wasn't, you know, a senior vice president or anything that they would transfer. I was 20, I think at that time I was 23. Wow. So it was a big hurdle to get over to, you know, I needed work permits. And I mean, just really, I needed somebody to hire me basically and give me a work permit. But it took me about a year. But I did it. I did it. My mind was set on it, and I did it. And that changed my life. I mean, it gave me a whole new life. I really learned how to live. I'm truly well. And of course, cooking was always my passion, and eating was always my passion. That's mainly what I wanted was eating well. Yeah. So I just started living, and I was working advertising and living well, and you know, learning to cook really well. But that was just for me and my friends. It wasn't for a business. Right. Then after many years, and then I also had the opportunity to do my dream and be a fashion designer, because when I was living in Milan, the fashion capital of Europe, right? I got sick of working in advertising, didn't like the Italian advertising, and thought, do I move back to New York, or do I, you know, go for it and try to be a fashion designer? And I did. And that was incredible. That was a great, Giorgio Armani wanted to hire me, and I didn't do it because I wanted to work on my own designs. It was really incredible.
How did you come back to, you know, I'm really interested in people's journey, and I love the word adventure. I use that word a lot. So you go to Italy, you're in the fashion thing. What brought you back to kind of your first love of cooking and preparing and chefing and that kind of stuff?
Well, what brought me back was moving back to the United States. Okay. So in the meantime, I got married and had children and wanted the kids to go to school in the United States. So we decided to move here. So I moved my Italian family, my Italian husband, my Italian children, back to the United States after 20 years. Wow. So I came back as an immigrant. Most people don't realize, but when you are not in the United States for a number of years, you have no credit history anymore. You become they call you a ghost. Mm-hmm. So I was an American Italian, because I have dual citizenship. Coming back into the United States, as a ghost. I was coming back like an immigrant.
Yeah.
So it was much more difficult than initially going to Italy, I think. But anyway, I wanted my kids to go to school here, so came back here, and at the time I was running our family business, which is a record label, the music business.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was a pop star in Italy, and I was basically, I gave up my career, my fashion career at that time to help his career and to promote him, because I was very good at promotion from my advertising background. So running our independent record label, and still, you know, in the United States, meeting new people, came to San Francisco, didn't know anyone, meeting new people, and having dinner parties, you know, and inviting people over. And that was the way I'm an entertainer. I love to entertain. I love to entertain. I'm very good at it for myself. But people started asking me to do it for them because they loved the experience that they had coming to our home. And so it started organically. That's how it started. And then people started asking me to teach them to cook.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So my whole cooking thing started from my passion for cooking, being experienced by other people, and I guess they got the love through the food. Right. And then they started asking me to share with them, and then the floodgates opened. I started sharing all of my experiences and all of the knowledge that I learned in Italy from a lot of generous people who really taught me a lot. Yeah. And that's where I am right now.
What are we doing with the business now? I saw the cookbook, I saw the recipes that you've been doing for a while. What's the launch process for you at this point?
Okay, so like I said, I had a little setback. So in 2007, I was all ready to go. I was ready to launch myself big time and working on a TV show and filming some things in Italy and all that. And then and I'll do it. The bleep hit the fan. My now ex-husband left me for a younger woman with all of our income and assets, and with our children. So I'm raising the children on my own, supporting the children without having. He took the business. So you know, I'm having to juggle, and this is a challenge for me, paying the bills, you know, staying afloat, and trying to live out my dreams.
Yeah.
So now I'm picking up where I left off, you know, 5 years ago, and you know, trying to regroup and trying to, you know, redo my business plan, which I'm doing, which includes, you know, writing, which includes television. I did have the opportunity during these last few years to be on television a lot. With local stations. I had a great opportunity to be the guest chef on this wonderful show, this afternoon show, right before Oprah came on the air. So a lot of people watched it. It was really great. It gave me great experience cooking on camera. I'd like to do more of that. I'd like to do my own little, you know, show, whether it be a YouTube channel or whatever. And then, I don't know, just a lot of things. I'd like to do, you know, have a shop where I sell, you know, food, where I give my cooking classes. Just, you know, a lot of things to get the word out and to really continue to share with people, as, you know, my expertise in Italian cooking, and more than anything, more than just Italian cooking, is how to live a truly quality life.
Yeah.
Without just thinking of going out and buying something, or thinking that you have to have a lot of money to go to fancy restaurants. You can do it yourself. You can really make your wonderful home your cocoon, and it'll nurture you and your family and your children and your husband and your friends, and just make you truly happy, really, really happy.
Yeah, Deborah, you know what's interesting, and I don't want to gloss over the fact, you know, your transition from 2007. A lot of times when I'll have guests on the show, and we're all fabulous. We all have fabulosity and great things are happening. But I sometimes want to make sure that people understand that we're always, you know, things happen to us. I remember in 2009, you know, everything's going great. My brother died all of a sudden. I was at the beginning of building a great publishing empire, and honestly, I just didn't feel like doing anything. I just didn't feel like doing it.
I understand. Yeah, I can understand that.
Did you feel, and how are you? Because for me, it's still a process. How?
Well, let me tell you, I had a similar experience. So my sister died in 2009.
Wow.
So isn't that's ironic? After a
and I went to
long.
Italy when I was 22, by the way. So we have.
Oh, really? That's great. Well, we have a lot in common. After a long illness with ALS, which I had to, I mean, the family was devastated watching her waste away. But that, while it was so sad, it also I mean, at least for me, it really taught me what was truly important in life. I mean, living is important in life.
Yeah.
And really, and I think that's what my sister, and I still, speak to her. She comes to me and in my heart and speaks to me. And that's, I think, what the message is live. I mean, live, forget all the BS, and forget all the moaning and groaning. And sure, we have a lot of challenges, but we're tough ladies. I mean, and we really can do it. So that kind of gets me through it, even though it's, it's challenging. Every day is a challenge. And what Heidi said on the call before me was really interesting. And this is something I think is coming really to a head now. And it's funny that it's coming to a head now, because I grew up during the women's, the women's revolution or whatever. But we haven't come that far. I mean, there are still kind of medieval kind of things lurking around there with women and business and trying to have it all, and trying to raise our children also, because for me, my children are my life. They're very important to me. But there's a disconnect. So I think we should stop trying to be like men, because I think we have more than men. I think we have the opportunity to procreate, which I think is such a gift that men, they don't have that experience. I think we have to redefine who we are, really, and kind of set ourselves apart from men, and have people not want to expect us to be like men.
Absolutely.
We are women.
Absolutely. I think that's a great message, and leads into my last question about your movie, because it has been an adventure for you. If you were going to, if someone said, hey, I saw you on the Fran Harris show, I'd like to make a movie about you. You got any ideas who should play you and what the movie might be called? What would you say?
Yes, I do. Sandra Bullock would be the star.
Very good.
And because she always puts some humor into it, and I love to be funny and just, joke around. And and it would be something like Al Dente or Mamma Mia, or something like Take a Bite Out of Life, and be kind of zany in my adventures in Italy. And I have so many funny stories to share, and just and just the back and forth between two continents.
Yeah, you should write about that. We should talk sometimes about. I was in Italy when I was 22. I was playing professional basketball there. Just left, didn't speak the language, learned the language, and the adventures there are never ending. And I went back. I was speaking in London about 3 years ago, and I was so close. I just called my friends up. I haven't seen them in 25 years, 20 years. And I called them, and I was like, hey, I'm going to come to Cesena. And they were like, Francesca, no.
Cesena. Oh, that's funny, Cesena. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's where I played. It was great. So, Deborah, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. But before we go, I want to make sure people know how they can connect with you. What's your website?
Okay, well, first of all, I've got a little snack for you. Here's a little cake. This is a torta caprese from Capri, from the Isle of Capri. Nice. And life couldn't be better, right, than on the Isle of Capri. So we can all have that. All you need to do is make a simple little cake. Deborah Del Fovo is, my website is www.deborahdelfovo.com. And you can find me on YouTube. I have my YouTube channel with about 12 cooking segments that I did. So people can cook with me and learn new recipes. And hopefully they'll be hearing more from me soon. I've got to really get to work now. Now I really got to get to work.
Exactly. The world knows about you. Get cooking, girl. Thank you for being on the show, Deborah.
Thank you.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao.